This week, we're continuing the journey started by Troward and his text, The Hidden Power. In the next two parts, number 5 and 6, Brother Mark St. Cyr gives us a breakdown of these chapters and parts. In them, we'll learn more about understanding the relationship between spirit and matter. We'll talk about the creative power of spirit and how selfishness and ignorance are major barriers to realizing our potential. All this and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. Here's your host, Brother Robert Johnson.
Welcome back. This is episode number 660. I want to thank our contributors, fellows, producers, and legacy partners of the WCY podcast. If you want to learn more about how you can help support Masonic education and this podcast, head on over to WCYpodcast.com, click on Support the Show, and check out the various options. We also have a shop with limited edition items, as well as links back to some of our other projects like Skull and Crown Limited, where I do all of my leatherworking. All money we make through that go right back into Masonic education as well, and the same goes for any tarot readings that we'll do. Now, as far as a presentation schedule, I had an awesome time going to Double Eagle Lodge out in Indianapolis, Indiana. What an incredible building and an incredible group of open-minded and intellectual thinkers. So thank you so much to Worshipful Brother Glenn Blackwood, as well as the rest of the officers of Double Eagle Lodge. That's pretty much it for this year. We'll be wrapping things up and probably getting started late January, early February, with more presentations coming on the books. If you want to learn more, of course, everything is on the website, wcypodcast.com. Click on Presentation Schedule. This last weekend, I was able to host our annual Feast of St. Andrew on November 30th for Space Novum Lodge number 1183. I was the MC for the event. We had a great education session by Worshipful Brother Matt Stoles, 33rd degree elect, who presented on captivating symbology and other elements, all relating back to Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, alchemy, Kabbalah, all of those things. A truly fascinating presentation. So I want to thank him as well as all of our officers and our guests. So thank you so much for coming out. Really appreciate you. The November edition of the Lyceum from the Grand Lodge of Illinois, we finished a little bit late, Ben, because of the holiday. The November issue will probably be published here in the next week or so in December. But don't let that scare you. We will have a December issue out in December as well. So looking forward to both of those coming out. December 7th, I'm going to be installing the officers of an AMD chapter for Brother Darren A. Laners, and Brother Greg Knott. Going to be a pretty awesome time down in kind of central Illinois area. That'll be on December 7th toward the evening. If you need more details, go ahead and shoot me a private message or an email, and I'll get that stuff to you. Now, on to the education. Last week, I talked about wanting to read the next couple of parts of Troward, The Hidden Power, which was done by Midnight Freemason guest contributor, Brother Mark St. Cyr. He's been breaking down the text by Troward, who wrote a book called The Hidden Power, and Mark has been breaking down the chapters and parts in contemporary language for us to understand today. So we will be checking out parts 5 and 6, which will be part 3 in the series of Hidden Power on the WCY podcast. So here we go. Troward, The Hidden Power Part 5 by Midnight Freemason guest contributor Brother Mark St. Cyr. We discover our intuition is true by realizing the deep connection to the infinity harmony of all being. The realization is not a vague feeling, but a logical outcome of the universal life principle which permeates everything in nature. The most advanced minds among us recognize this unity not just in theoretical terms, but as a living reality. Each person, as a unique part of the whole, has the potential to direct streams of inexhaustible energy and power. What could be more significant than this realization? The influence we have on our destiny is immense. The unity with the infinite being draws the focus higher spiritual forces toward us. Recognizing this connection, we understand that our individual power and higher aspects of our spirit form the core of our existence. The law of growth, which raises us to higher levels of individual power, shows there is no limit to what we can achieve. Mathematics, specifically algebra, often helps clarify complex ideas. Algebra's simplicity often resolves intricate problems, showing that while variables may differ, their underlying relationships remain consistent. This is analogous to the relationship between the individual and the infinite being, where the connection remains unaltered despite individual differences. The Kabbalists spoke of the lost word, a concept of immense power that humanity has forgotten. Rediscovering this word brings profound understanding. The word I am signifies the expression of the infinite in each of us. It represents our true nature and power, rooted in the essence of being. Embracing I am leads us to realize our potential and unity with the infinite. Understanding this unity brings us to see that the infinite is not separate from us. The infinite expresses itself through us, and our individuality is a mode of this expression. This understanding leads to the realization that our true nature is one of the infinite, guiding our thoughts and actions in harmony with universal laws. Life, in its essence, is motion and energy. The constant flow connects everything, showing that our perceptions of separateness are illusions. The law of conservation of energy supports this, as does the recognition that we are integral parts of the greater universal power. Ancient teachings remind us of this unity. They stress that all power lies in the understanding of embracing I am. This phrase is not just about self-affirmation, but about realizing our connection to the greater whole. The lost word teaches us that our words and thoughts shape our reality. We are powerful beings capable of influencing the world around us through our thoughts and intentions. In practical terms, this means recognizing our own vitality and responsiveness. Our thoughts and feelings shape our experiences. When we consider spirit in the absolute, we realize that even the smallest thoughts can have infinite repercussions. This is reinforced by the principle that, as a man thinks, so is he. Our internal state reflects in our external reality, and our thoughts create vibrations that extend into the infinite. The creative power of spirit shows that every thought and intention we have shapes our world. Persistent thoughts create stronger effects than random ones. This highlights the importance of focusing our minds and controlling our thoughts to create the reality we desire. Scattered thoughts lead to scattered results, while focused thoughts harness the power of spirit for greater outcomes. The idea of directed concentration is crucial. Energy without direction is chaotic, leading to confusion and destruction. Directed thought channels this energy into constructive outcomes. Whether it's physical forces or spiritual power, concentrated energy brings significant results. This principle applies both to individual efforts and the collective actions of humanity. Selfishness and ignorance are major barriers to realizing our potential. They limit our ability to connect with the infinite and harness its power. True progress comes from understanding our role within the larger system and aligning our actions with universal principles. This alignment leads to greater freedom and fulfillment as we work in harmony with the natural laws of the universe. Ultimately, the infinite harmony of all being shows us that our highest good is achieved by recognizing and embracing our connection to the greater whole. This principle of unity and love drives all progress, ensuring that our individual actions contribute to the collective advancement of humanity. By understanding and applying this law, we unlock our potential and fulfill our role within the universe. Mark St. Cyr. Part 5 here, love it, really creeps in on the idea of the law of attraction. But of course, Troward is constantly referring back to this etheric idea in a philosophical way that connects back to the science that is reality. It makes it a very difficult concept to try to argue against. I mean, even today, you have amazing philosophers and scientists dedicated to the idea of destroying things like the law of attraction. And yet, there seems to be still, at a foundational level, some correctness about this that ultimately the criticism about it is that maybe it's simplified too much. Very interesting. Loved the contemporary view, loved the language, and my thanks goes out to Mark. But that's not all. Let's continue the look as we read Troward, The Hidden Power Part 6 by Midnight Freemason guest contributor, Brother Mark St. Cyr. We often find ourselves entangled in the need to escape the limitations of traditional power structures, seeking the freedom and power that comes from understanding higher spiritual principles. This quest involves recognizing the principle of inversion, where traditional power structures must be understood in reverse to unlock true liberty and power. This concept is like reversing the flow of electricity to generate higher levels of energy, allowing us to transform our lives by reinterpreting established norms. The idea of inversion, though it may seem complex, is straightforward when applied to spiritual growth. In the same way that physical inversion in machinery creates new dynamics, spiritual inversion shifts our perspective, helping us understand that true power and liberty come from within. The principle that, as a man thinks, so is he, underscores this concept, suggesting that our internal beliefs shape our external reality. By recognizing this, we can free ourselves from the constraints of old ways of thinking and embrace a new paradigm where power and liberty are interconnected. This principle is further illustrated by the idea that external actions are not the only causes of our experiences. Often, our internal beliefs and thoughts set the stage for our reality. This aligns with the law of works and the circle of karma, which show that the quality of our lives results from our internal states. Changing our thoughts and beliefs can break the cycle of negative experiences, leading to a new sequence of positive outcomes. By understanding the relationship between spirit and matter, we can see that the spirit influences matter in profound ways. This recognition brings us to the law of faith and the law of liberty, which suggests that faith in our creative power and a liberated mindset can transform our lives. Embracing these laws means realizing that we are expressions of a higher intelligence and love, capable of directing our thoughts and actions to align with the greater good. In practical terms, this means recognizing the power of thought. Thought determines action, and when directed toward the higher principles, it can produce significant changes in our lives. This understanding aligns with ancient teachings that emphasize the importance of inner knowledge and the connection between thought and reality. By aligning our thoughts with universal principles, we can harness the creative power of spirit to bring about positive change. However, not everyone possesses this knowledge. Many people still operate within limited frameworks, missing the deeper truths that could free them from unnecessary constraints. This misunderstanding often stems from misinterpretations of spiritual teachings. For instance, the idea of the Messiah in religious contexts often misses the broader implications of spiritual liberation. True spiritual freedom involves recognizing our inherent connection to the divine and the limitless possibilities that come with it. This realization requires a shift in perspective. We must move beyond traditional dogmas and embrace a more expansive understanding of spiritual principles. This shift involves recognizing the unity of all things and the continuous flow of creative energy that connects us to the universe. By doing so, we align ourselves with the higher laws of nature and the divine, allowing us to experience greater freedom and fulfillment. The practical application of these principles involves a conscious effort to align our thoughts and actions with higher truths. This process is akin to the scientific method, where hypotheses are tested and refined to reach a deeper understanding of reality. Similarly, in spiritual practice, we must test and refine our beliefs and actions to align with universal principles. This ongoing process leads to greater clarity and spiritual growth. The ultimate goal is to achieve a state of harmony with the universal mind, where our thoughts and actions are guided by a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things. This state of being is characterized by freedom from the limitations of traditional power structures and an embrace of the infinite possibilities that come with spiritual awareness. In conclusion, The principle of inversion and the interconnectedness of power and liberty offers a pathway to true spiritual freedom. By understanding and applying these principles, we can break free from old constraints and embrace a new paradigm of limitless potential. This journey involves a continuous process of learning, growth, and alignment with higher truths, leading to a life of greater fulfillment and harmony with the universe. Mark St. Cyr. Adapted from the original work, Troward, T. 1921, The Hidden Power and Other Papers Upon Mental Science. Published by Robert M. McBride and Company. All material cited is free to use within the public domain. Again, a continuation of this series that brings us enhanced understanding of some of these universal laws. Some might consider them common sense laws by which a person can navigate the seas of the reality in which we live. And I think that's probably a pretty good explanation of how some of this works. I'm a firm believer in positive thinking and positivity in life and working through these types of laws and rules of nature so that we can thereby affect our lives and those lives around us in positive ways that benefit the whole of humanity. My thanks goes out one more time to Brother Mark St. Cyr for his work on these. That's it for this week. I want to thank our contributors, fellows, producers, and legacy partners of the WCY podcast. And as always, if you want to learn more about how to help support Masonic education and this podcast specifically, head on over to our website, wcypodcast.com, click on Support the Show, and check out the various options. That's it until next week. I want to thank you all again once more. Until then, stay on the level. For Whence Came You, I'm Robert Johnson. Take care.
You've been listening to Whence Came You, a Masonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry with your host, Brother Robert Johnson. Be sure to join us for our next edition.
WCY Media.
Why, that's me, as no,